So, hello there, and welcome back to yet another Night of the Movies podcast. And in these podcasts, I talk all things movies and TV, and whatever I want, whenever I want. And in today's podcast, I am reviewing the Doctor Who 60th anniversary specials. But just before I do that, I should say what I say at the start of every podcast I do, which is, if you are watching this podcast on YouTube, hello to my viewers. But if you prefer to listen to your podcast on Spotify, well, you are in luck, as you can also listen to the podcast on Spotify at Night of the Movies on that platform. And if you are already listening to this podcast on Spotify, hello there to podcast listeners, then you can also check out this podcast visually on my YouTube channel. Yes, you can watch this podcast on my YouTube channel at Night of the Movies on that platform as well. Likewise, whatever you may be watching or listening to this podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy the podcast, of course. And please leave me with some feedback on things to improve on in future podcasts, because there's always things to improve on, and feedback is, as ever, much appreciated. So, let's get into it, shall we? The Doctor Who 60th anniversary specials. So, I have been extremely excited. I was extremely excited for these 60th anniversary specials, particularly when I heard that David Tennant and Catherine Tate were returning for all three specials. We weren't going to get just one special with them, but three specials with David Tennant returning as the 14th Doctor, but he's still returning as a Doctor, so you do count him as returning, and Catherine Tate returning to play Donna Noble, because that was my favourite Doctor Who companion. You know, that was they were my favourite Doctor Who duo. You know, the 10th Doctor and Donna Noble, because there wasn't any romantic connection going on there, and they were just like brother and sister, and you could tell they loved each other, but not in that way. It was a platonic relationship, and it was so fun to watch, and you can really tell that David Tennant and Catherine Tate got along behind the scenes when they were initially doing Doctor Who, all the way back in, 2008 now? So when I heard they were returning, I was deliriously excited. And then I got even more deliriously excited when I heard that Russell T Davies was returning to write all three specials. He was returning to Doctor Who, and not only was he returning to Doctor Who, because I think he was the best showrunner on Doctor Who, because he was a showrunner during the Christopher Eccleston and David Tennant eras of Doctor Who, I think they're the best eras. And so not only was I, so excited because Russell T Davies, the best showrunner on Doctor Who, was returning to write more Doctor Who, I was so excited because he was coming back to write Doctor Who, and David Tennant would be playing the Doctor again. And I just think Russell T Davies, as what he said, he did the best job showing Doctor Who, and he's just one of the best writers in TV right now. I didn't love Years and Years, which he wrote, I don't know how many years ago that came out now. I was trying to think off the top of my head, but I'm just not with that today. So yeah, he wrote Years and Years, the TV show Years and Years, which I must admit I didn't love, but I did enjoy, and I did like what it was going for. And then a couple years ago, he wrote the TV series It's a Sin, which was just so one big emotional roller coaster, and had some very interesting characters, and was just a sensational show. And this is what he chose to do after It's a Sin. It's a Sin, which I think is one of the best things on TV in the past 5 years, or maybe one of the best TV shows ever, in my opinion. And it was from Russell T Davies, and after he did It's a Sin, he came to do this show. So I was just so excited when I heard that Russell T Davies was coming back to Doctor Who, that David Tennant was coming back to Doctor Who under Russell T Davies' writing, alongside Catherine Tate as Donna Noble. And I was also very excited because it was a 60th anniversary specials, and that means anything can happen. Anyone can come back. We can have any companion back. And we could have any Doctor back. The 50th anniversary had the 10th Doctor meet the 11th Doctor. Then you had John Hurt's Doctor in there, what he called the War Doctor. You had these three Doctors meet each other. And although I didn't love the 50th anniversary special, in fact, I was really disappointed in it, if I'm being honest. But even though the 50th anniversary special didn't work for me for the most part, one thing I really enjoyed was seeing all the Doctors meet each other in that special. And I still go back and rewatch it on YouTube. The moment that the 10th Doctor, David Tennant's Doctor, meets the 11th Doctor, Matt Smith's Doctor, I watch that on YouTube at least once every 2 months. You know, at least once every 2 months. And I've watched it on YouTube quite a few times over this past month, with the prospect of potentially having Matt Smith returning for these 60th anniversary specials, because he has spoke about wanting to come back. And not only he could potentially come back, but also some past companions. Maybe some of Tennant's past companions. Get Martha back. Get Rose, Billy Piper's Rose back. Somehow, I don't know, Rusty Davies could make it work. The prospect of the possibilities of these episodes, of these specials, and the return of David Tennant as the Doctor, and Catherine Tate as Donna Noble, and Rusty Davies back in the writing chair for Doctor Who had me extremely excited, to the point that a couple of weeks ago I made a video on this channel, I made a podcast on this channel talking about my anticipation and my theories and my excitement and my worries about these Doctor Who 6th anniversary specials. I was worried that these specials might not deliver the surprises that I was hoping for. Because they weren't hinting at that in the trailers. I was worried about that. But I was also very excited. As I've already said quite a few times in this podcast already, you get the point. I was very, very excited for these specials because I haven't loved Doctor Who in a long time. This is another reason I was excited. I haven't loved Doctor Who in a long time. I haven't really loved it since Russell T Davies left as a showrunner all the way back, was it 2010, 2009 or something like that. Since he left with David Tennant initially, I haven't loved Doctor Who properly since then. I loved Matt Smith's first series. I loved his first series, but it just went downhill more and more as Doctor Who has gone on since then. And yeah, it just hasn't been the same for me. And with the Rusty Davies coming back, I was really hoping that my faith would be restored in Doctor Who, and then I'd get excited about it again. And I wanted that magic back in Doctor Who, that energy, that excitement, that thrill, which I've just been missing. Not that I haven't liked episodes in Peter Capaldi's era, or Matt Smith's era, or Jodie Whittaker's era, but at the same time, though, they just haven't had that same magic that was there during the David Tennant era of Doctor Who. My favourite era of Doctor Who still to date. So, I was very, very, very excited for the 60th anniversary specials. And now that all 3 specials have aired, here are my thoughts on them as a whole. I really, really enjoyed these specials. They have restored my faith in Doctor Who. And I'm so happy to say that. I'm even shaking a little bit as I'm saying that, because I have wanted to love Doctor Who for the longest time. I remember when Jodie Whittaker was starting off as Doctor, I remember watching her first series and really wanting to love it, but really not getting along with it. And I felt at that point that that was the end of Doctor Who for me. That was the end of my journey with Doctor Who. A journey which I just loved growing up. I remember every Saturday morning growing up and watching, looking forward every Saturday evening, looking forward to Doctor Who growing up, counting down the minutes to seeing what the next 10th Doctor's adventure would be, or what the next 11th Doctor's adventure would be, and then slowly falling off that. And I've missed that from Doctor Who. I've missed looking forward to it. And the thing is, I was looking forward to each one of these specials. After the first of the 60th anniversary specials aired, I was looking forward to the second one. Then I was looking forward to the third one. And now I'm sat here and I am counting down the days, the minutes, the seconds until we get Ncutti Gatwa's Christmas special on Christmas Day this year. I am now excited about Doctor Who again because of these 60th anniversary specials. First things first, isn't it great to have Doctor Who back on a Saturday? During the Jodie Whittaker era, it was on a Sunday, and that was depressing. I remember watching some of those episodes and thinking, I've got school or college or uni the next day, and that's not nice to think when I'm watching Doctor Who. I want to think, oh my god, I can be excited about this and talk about it over Sunday, after I've seen the episode, and it's something to look forward to and have that Saturday feeling with. And I think that's some of these specials do really well. You have that Saturday entertainment feel with all three specials. They are full of energy, they're full of excitement, they're thrilling, and they feel like Doctor Who should feel like, in my opinion. I understand there's some avid Doctor Who fans out there who may not agree with me. And that's fine, it's completely subjective. And I can understand why some people might enjoy Doctor Who when it's more slow-paced and more focusing on the characters. And don't be wrong, there have been some slower-paced episodes of Doctor Who and some character-driven episodes of Doctor Who, which I really liked. I didn't really like his era, I didn't really like Peter Capaldi's era, but I love the episode Heaven Sent. And there's some episodes of David Tennant's era which are more slower paced and I really enjoyed. Off the top of my head, Wards of Mars isn't a particularly fast paced episode. It's more about the characters and the choices that the 10th Doctor makes at that point. But it's one of my all-time favourite episodes of Doctor Who. So, yeah, even so, there are some slow paced episodes of Doctor Who I like. For me, the best episodes of Doctor Who are the fast-paced ones, are the ones with energy, the ones that feel exciting. That a family can sit around and watch TV and enjoy. With Doctor Who. I don't know how much that sentence made sense there, but yeah, I prefer Doctor Who when it's more family orientated and where you have that excitement and that thrill and that sense of adventure, and you get that in these 60th anniversary specials. That is something we haven't had in a long time, and that's something Rusty Davies always did so well in his writing for Tennant's for Tennant's era of Doctor Who, for the 10th Doctor's reign. That's something Rusty Davies did so well. And the writing is something he brings into his new era, where the writing, yes, it has problems. I'm not going to sit and say the writing is watertight, solid, and it doesn't have, there are some plot holes in there, but the episodes move at such a pace that you don't care so much about the problems. You're just caught up in the excitement and the energy and the wit and the comedy that is going on screen, because it's all just working and it's so wildly entertaining that the issues aren't big issues. You don't have time to dwell on them. Whilst in the previous last couple of eras of Doctor Who, it feels like they've been dwelling on the problems. Whilst Rusty Davies, he knows there are problems in these episodes, but he's just pushing through, and it works so much better for that. And something I slightly alluded to there is I love the use of comedy in these episodes. Doctor Who is funny again. The comedy feels natural. It doesn't feel forced. And it comes in there, and the comedy is actually funny, and the comedic delivery really, really works. I think it helps that you have Catherine Tate in there, who's a very funny actress anyway, outside of Doctor Who. But at the same time, the comedy in these episodes works well. I laughed a lot in these episodes, and it reminded me that Doctor Who can be funny, and that Doctor Who should be funny, and that it also should be scary at times, because another great big thing that these episodes do is, have all these references to horror films and feel scary at times. In the second episode, there are homages to Alien. There's a big homage to Alien. They're on a spaceship in the middle of nowhere in space. That is quite literally the setting for Ridley Scott's Alien. And there are references to The Exorcist, there are references to The Abyss, and many other horror films in the second of the specials, in what's it called, Wild Blue Yonder. There are plenty of horror elements in that episode, and the way it's done, that episode is just brilliant. It's one of the best written Doctor Who episodes I've seen in a very, very long time. And the fact that the episode just focuses on two people, the fact that the episode most just has two actors in. I know you get the little opening with Isaac Newton, and I know you get the ending where Wilf turns up again, which is just utterly wonderful and brings a hugest smile on your face. Even though there are little appearances from other actors at the beginning and end of that episode, the episode mainly focuses on two actors, David Tennant and Catherine Tate, and that episode does such a good job at keeping you glued to the screen, keeping you entertained, and providing you with some great scares, some great comedy, and a great plot. And the plotting is done well in the episode as well. And yeah, that second episode has those horror moments you want in Doctor Who, and also has those emotional moments. And the third episode has that as well. The episode, what's it called? The Giggle, with Neil Patrick Harris as the Toymaker. The third of these specials has those whole elements in there. You know, there's that whole sequence in the third episode where Donna and the Doctor running down the corridor, and they keep going on these different rooms, but then they keep going into these corridors. If you've seen the episode, you know what I'm talking about. And they keep seeing all these different things that the Toymaker has been doing, how he's trying to mess with their heads, and there are all these moments of horror in there. I mean, it's not too scary, but I can see why, you know, people at a younger age would get scared of this. Because in the end, Doctor Who is meant to be family entertainment, and it is meant to be scary, but not too scary. But at the same time, you know, it is meant to scare you a little bit and make you feel a bit unnerved. You know, there's a reason that people love the Weeping Angels so much. There's a reason they do, because they're actually scary. And I do think each one of these specials has an element of horror in there that works well, and they are also emotionally engaging. They have some really moving moments, particularly when what they do with the Doctor in these episodes, what they do with the 14th Doctor. And spoiler here, in case you haven't seen the episodes, or in case you haven't seen the specials yet, you know. But I'm going to talk about spoilers from this point onwards in the podcast now. The way that they bring the 14th Doctor back, and how and why he's back, I think makes perfect sense. The fact that the 13th Doctor, Jodie Whittaker's Doctor, regenerated into a previous face of the Doctor, so to tell the Doctor to settle down, at least this part of the Doctor to settle down. That's what I got from it. Maybe there's a bit more that I'm not completely understanding, but that's what I got from it, and the way that is done, I think, works perfectly. Because one of the main things about the Doctor, and one of the main running threads in Doctor Who for as long as I can remember, since I watched it, since I started watching it around 2006 when David Tennant became the Doctor, is this whole idea the Doctor's always running. He never stops. You know, he's always running, and he's always moving on to the next companion. If one companion's lost, he quickly moves on to another, sometimes to his own downfall. And this episode, the final episode of the specials, what's it called, the Giggle, keep forgetting what it's called, the final episode of these specials really focusing on that and zoning that in a very clever way, when you see Neil Patrick Harris, the Toymaker, with all the Doctor's companions, but the puppets. And I was sat there going, wow. I was sat there thinking, wow, I wasn't saying that out loud, but I was sat there thinking, wow, because I was half expecting these companions to come back. And I actually thought it was more clever what they did there. I thought it was more clever that they would come back as puppets and be used as a mind game in order to make the 14th Doctor feel terrible, and how that whole scene plays out where Neil Patrick Harris as a Toymaker is saying, remember what happened to Amy Pond? She died. And then the Doctor goes, she didn't die, she died of old age. And then Neil Patrick, and then the Toymaker says, well, that's all right then. And then he goes, and remember what happened to Clara? She died. And then the 14th Doctor goes, she didn't die, her conscience lived on or something. And then the Toymaker goes, well, that's all right then. And it's such a brilliant sequence. And it shows you how good Doctor Who can be when it is written well. And that is really why these specials work for me, because the writing is solid. There are problems. I'm not saying there aren't problems with these specials, but the writing is so solid and moves at such a pace that the issues don't become an issue, you know? And I would be lying if I said I didn't have problems with these episodes. Well, I've already spoken about the problems. I said already that the problems didn't really bother me. But my big thing with these specials, my big issue is this. the surprises. I loved seeing Donna's family back and seeing the late great Bernard Cribbins return in a small cameo as Wilf that he managed to film before he passed away last year was just, it was bittersweet. It was perfect and sad at the same time because you knew it was the last moment you're going to see Wilf on screen, but it also worked because you got to see him again. It was just so heartwarming. And yeah, you got Donna's family back, and there was some interesting surprises and other characters return, like Brigadier's daughter, what's she called, Kate. I think I keep forgetting her name, the character's name, and an old companion, Mel, returned, and don't know who that is myself because I've never really seen classic Doctor Who. I've seen a couple episodes here and there, but I've never sit down to watch a full episode of classic Doctor Who. So yeah, there were a couple of surprises, sure, but what I mean is I thought there could have been some more surprises, and this is me with my expectations. Might have been me letting my expectations get the better of me. But I really thought we'd at least get Martha return these episodes. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Martha is my favourite Doctor Who companion. I've even said in this podcast already, my favourite Doctor Who companion is Donna. But at the same time, over the past couple of months, I've been rewatching that series that the series that the Doctor had with Martha, and it's really entertaining. And I think she did a good job. And from what I remember, isn't she meant to be working for UNIT, which we see in these 3 Doctor Who specials, which we see in the 6th anniversary special of Doctor Who. We see UNIT again, and I was half thinking because we saw UNIT in the trailers for these specials that we would definitely see Martha. And maybe, again, that was my expectation to get the better of me. And I'm not saying I desperately wanted to see Martha, but I felt it was a bit weird that David Tennant's Doctor comes back. Yes, he's playing the 14th Doctor, but it is still David Tennant as the Doctor. And we didn't get to see him go back and meet any of his other companions. I know Billie Piper's Rose is in a different universe. She's in a parallel universe. But it's Doctor Who, and if any show can do it, if any sci-fi show can think of a way to break the rules and can think of a way for David Tennant's Doctor to go back to Billie Piper's roles, it's Doctor Who. If any sci-fi show can do that, if any sci-fi show can break the rules, it is going to be Doctor Who. And I thought it was a bit weird that the Doctor only came back to say goodbye to Donna. And maybe it wouldn't have fit well. Maybe a return of Martha or Billie Piper's Rose or, I don't know, John Barrowman's Captain Jack may not have worked. Yet, I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to see it. And maybe they'll do something like that in the future, I don't know, for the 75th anniversary. But that's like 15 years away, and I don't know. It's just a long time you have to wait for that. So maybe it's my expectations getting the better of me, but I really thought we'd see more of the 10th Doctor's companions return. On top of that, I really thought we'd see Matt Smith return as the 11th Doctor. I know it may not have fit in with the narrative that these episodes decided to tell. I know it may not have fit in with Russell T Davies' ideas for these 6th anniversary specials. I understand that. But the kid inside of me wanted Matt Smith to return as Doctor. Wanted him to return as Doctor with Russell T Davies writing. Because that's been a lifelong... Yeah, it's been a lifelong dream of mine to see Matt Smith as a Doctor with Russell T Davies writing that version of the Doctor, because I don't feel Matt Smith quite got his justice playing the Doctor. I don't think he was always under the best writers, and something I think Matt Smith came out and said was the Doctor's only as good as the writing, and I don't think Matt Smith, towards the end had the best writing with his episodes. I think it really started to fall down once they got into the 3rd series of Amy and Rory. So I was really hoping that even if it's just a small 2-minute, 3-minute, 4-minute, 5-minute cameo, that Matt Smith would return. I wasn't necessarily bothered about Jodie Whittaker. I would have liked to see Jodie Whittaker return, but at the same time, she just left as a Doctor, so I couldn't understand why she wouldn't return. And I wasn't too bothered about Peter Capaldi, I've got to admit, because I didn't love him as a Doctor. I think Peter Capaldi's a great actor, though. Yet, I wanted to see Matt Smith return. I really did, and he's expressed interest in returning, and I really thought he was going to make a small cameo. And he didn't. And that's fine. And again, perhaps my expectations getting the better of me. Although, it just would have been great to see. It would have been great to see Matt Smith as a Doctor, and I do reckon we will see him as a Doctor in my lifetime. In Matt Smith's lifetime, more like, because Matt Smith is far older than I am. I do reckon we'll see him as a Doctor in his lifetime again. I do reckon that we'll see that happen. But we might have to wait for the 75th anniversary again to see that happen. And, you know, the opportunity was there. And again, I understand that it might not fit in with the narrative of these episodes. And I really loved how they had David Tennant's Doctor and Ncutti Gatwa's Doctor on screen together. But Matt Smith's Doctor, I don't know. For me, it just would have been the cherry on the ice on top of the cake. It just would have made these episodes that little bit better. I understand he's not needed, but that's just a part of me that wanted to see him back, you know. Still, that was my biggest disappointment. In the long run, it's not a huge disappointment, because if I want to see Matt Smith's Doctor interact with David Tennant's Doctor, I used to go back and watch the 50th anniversary specials, you know, or watch clips from the 50th anniversary specials, as I've already spoken about, that I do that, I've spoken about already in this podcast, I do that anyway, on YouTube. I go back and rewatch those two Doctors interact, so it's not a big thing. I suppose it's just my expectations getting the better of me, because in the long run now, those problems aren't big problems. The problems I had with, yes, the episode didn't have enough surprises for me, aren't big problems, because the episodes were just so wildly entertaining. And one thing I haven't mentioned yet, which I really loved, was the fact that we got Murray Gold back as the composer for these specials. That might not be a big thing for many people. You know, Murray Gold was the composer during the David Tennant era, Doctor Who, the Chris Eccleston era, the Matt Smith era, and the Pete Capaldi era, but he was not the composer for the Jodie Whittaker era of Doctor Who, and I think that was a huge misstep that they let him go. And I think it was the smartest decision in the world from Rusty Davies to get him back for the 60th anniversary specials, particularly because he was a person who composed the themes for the 10th Doctor and Donna all the way back in, what was it, 2007, 2008, when they first appeared. And what I really loved in the musical score for these episodes is how Murray Gold plays on the 10th Doctor's theme, or how he plays on Donna's theme. You know, you don't just get straight up reminders of those themes. You know, you don't just get straight up copies of those themes from when those characters first appeared. He uses those themes again. Those motifs come back for the 10th Doctor and Donna, but they redone in a slightly different fashion. I thought that was a very clever decision from Murray Gold, and I think his score. One thing I always love about Murray Gold's scores for any of Doctor Who, which he did, is it makes you wanna. It just makes you wanna fist pump in the air. You know, it makes you wanna leap with joy when you hear a great piece of Doctor Who music from Murray Gold, and you get that in the 6th anniversary specials. I think it helps with the energy in these specials too, when the musical score kicks in. You can just tell it's Murray Gold. You can just tell. Whoever did the musical scores for the Jodie Whittaker era, I'm sorry, but you did not do nearly a good job as Murray Gold, because honestly, he comes back to compose his episodes, and it's like, yes, this is what Doctor Who needs. Regardless of who the showrunner is, just keep Murray Gold composing it, because he is definitively the best Doctor Who composer. There is no question there. And one thing I haven't really mentioned yet is performances and the characters. I mean, I've really touched on this. I've already said I love what they do with the 14th Doctor, but I haven't said how much I love David Tennant in these episodes. It's like David Tennant never left this role. And seeing him back as the Doctor is just... It's a dream, you know, because he has that same magnetic performance that he had playing the 10th Doctor. That same compelling and captivating performance where he never lets you go, where he never lets the viewer's gaze go from him, from the way from his little facial expressions, from his quirks. He's just, oh god, he is the perfect Doctor. As of yet, I think Ncutti Gatwa is going to be a great Doctor, and I'll talk about him very briefly, very shortly, and I'm going to talk about him very shortly in this podcast. But yeah, seeing David Tennant back, whew, that was fantastic, and he is fantastic in these episodes. He really, yeah, it's like he never left the role. I actually think he's better in these 60th anniversary specials than he was in the 50th anniversary special. And I actually think he was very good in the 50th anniversary special. He's better here, though. And maybe that's because he's alongside Catherine Tate, who's also great. I thought that Catherine Tate come back to a Doctor Who would look like maybe she was phoning it in, because I did listen to her on a podcast with David Tennant, how she spoke about she was never the biggest fan of Doctor Who growing up, whilst David Tennant was. You know, this was a lifelong dream for him to play the Doctor. And I thought that her returning may not work that well. She is just brilliant in these specials. In the second special, when she thinks she's about to die, she gives off such an emotional performance, an emotionally riveting performance. Yeah, again, magnetic. And seeing David Tennant and Catherine Tate on screen with that chemistry and with that comedy and wit and with those performances just works perfectly in these specials. I loved how they got Donna's family back. I've already spoken about how I love they got Bernard, the late great Bernard Cribbins, back as Wilf, and they made sure that his cameo was in there, and it just brings the biggest smile to your face. And I love how Donna's mother comes back, and the moment she sees David Tennant's Doctor again, she goes, "You, God, Rusty Davies." God, it's such a great writer, and it's like these characters never left. And in my anticipation for these specials, well, once these specials started airing, I went back and I've been rewatching quite a few episodes of Doctor Who over the past couple of weeks, and I rewatched David Tennant's last two episodes when he was playing the 10th Doctor, The End of Time Part 1 and Part 2, and I didn't realise that the one who plays Donna's fiance in those last two episodes where David Tennant playing the 10th Doctor, is the same person who plays her husband in these three in these 60th anniversary specials. I didn't realise it was the same actor until I went back and rewatched The End of Time Part 1 and 2, and I was like, it's the same actor. I love that sense of continuity, because they didn't need to get him back. They didn't need to get him back, and yet they did. And he was really funny to watch, like where at the end of the first special, Donna goes, "Wouldn't you be worried if I was in a box with him, just with me and another man in a box together?" And he goes, "Yeah, but not him." When they're talking about the 14th Doctor, and yeah, he was wonderful to see too, and that's something I didn't expect to say. And Yasmin Finney as Rose is a great new addition to this series. I don't think we've seen the last of her. If I was to make a prediction, I do not think we've seen the last of her in Doctor Who. I think there's a good chance she shows up in Ncutti Gatwa's first series, which is going to be coming out sometime next year. And I've seen some pushback against her character. I'm going to wait to talk about that a bit later in this podcast, actually. But what I was saying is that I think she is a great new addition to the show. Is she the world's best actress? No. But I think she is a good actor, and I think she does a really good job in these episodes, and I believe her as Donna's daughter. You know, and I love what they did with her character. I love how Donna can remember about her time with the Doctor now, because she had a child. She had a child, which meant that a lot of the thoughts or something, like a lot of Donna's time with the Doctor, a lot of her subconscious stored memories went down to Rose, and that Rose has been making all these toys surrounding aliens that Donna and the Doctor faced off against with one another. I love how that is all done. Yeah, I really enjoyed the character of Rose. And when you get to the third special, you've got Neil Patrick Harris as the Toymaker, who is mad and brilliant. Neil Patrick Harris, when he's given a good script, can be just sensational. And he is sensational in the last episode when he's playing the Toymaker. I will admit, I wish he was in all 3 specials. Or maybe not the second special, actually. I preferred how the episode was just focused on one ship with mainly 2 characters, But I would have liked him to be in the first of the specials and then again in the third of the special. So the specials are hinting at him, we got more time with him because he was such a great villain. He did such a great job playing the Toymaker in that sequence when he's dancing to Spice Up Your Life by the Spice Girls. I'm somebody who's never been a big Spice Girls fan. That might surprise many people. I've never been a big Spice Girls fan. So I was like, okay, bit of a weird song choice to use when it was first being used in the episode. Fitted perfectly though. Now I've been thinking about that sequence when he's dancing to Spice Up Your Life ever since I saw the episode. I saw the episode about 16 hours ago now, and I've been thinking about that. I've been thinking about that sequence when he's dancing to Spice Up Your Life so much, and it worked perfectly because it just showed you how mad and insane this character was. And Neil Patrick Harris was great, and I also don't think we've seen the last of him. I don't think we've seen the last of Neil Patrick Harris as a Toymaker. I don't think we'll see him for a while in Doctor Who, but I think we'll see him again. Just a theory. And yeah, each episode was really, really entertaining. My favourite of all 3 episodes would probably be I don't know, I think the best of all 3 written episodes is the second episode. It's Wild Blue Yonder. But I think the most entertaining might be The Giggle, might be the third of all 3 specials, where just it moves at such a pace where you're trying to catch your breath with the episode, and there's all these insane things going on. It was just, that's what I wanted these specials to be, and that's what it was, And I really loved that episode. But I think the best written of all 3 episodes is the second one, is Wild Blue Yonder. Although I think also that the first episode, The Star Beast, was a really great reintroduction to Doctor Who, which I think we needed after Jodie Whittaker's era, which had such bad writing. I liked Jodie Whittaker's Doctor. I thought she tried her best, but the writing was so bad. And I thought that The Star Beast was a great reintroduction to Doctor Who. It's a little wobbly in parts, but I always think that the first episode after Regeneration is a little wobbly. Yet it was still really entertaining, though. And if an episode is enjoyable, then if an episode of Doctor Who is enjoyable, I can get past the problems, and I can get past where it's a little bit wobbly in parts. And one thing I really loved in the Star Piece as well was the Meep, and you got, Mia Margot's playing the Meep, which is just genius casting, and that episode has references to E.T., although apparently the episode is based on a comic, on a Doctor Who comic that came before E.T., so maybe E.T. copied off Doctor Who, kind of, I don't know, maybe didn't, but yeah, I love how that episode evokes E.T. and also evoked a little Baby Yoda there, which I got on my t-shirt, yeah. And I love what they did with the Meep. Really enjoyed the first episode. Loved the second episode. One of the best written episodes of Doctor Who I've seen for a long while. And loved the third episode as well. And I will admit, I wouldn't say that these are some of my favourite episodes of Doctor Who. And I kind of wish I was saying that. However, I might have said the same about certain other episodes of Doctor Who, which have now become some of my favourite episodes of Doctor Who. Like, when I watched, say, The Waters of Mars for the first time, I didn't initially love it. And now it's one of my all-time favourite episodes of Doctor Who. Same with The Runaway Bride. I don't remember loving that the first time I saw it. Now, I think it's insanely rewatchable. Now, also, Partners in Crime. The first time I saw that, didn't love it. Love it to pieces now. Gridlock, didn't love that the first time I saw it. Love it so much now. The one with the scarecrows, didn't love that the first time I saw it. Love it now. You get the point I'm making. So, even though I don't love these episodes to pieces yet, and even though they're not some of my favourite episodes of Doctor Who, give it a couple of years, they might be. They might genuinely be some of my favourite episodes of Doctor Who. Because they might grow on me, and I think that's the power of what C. Davis is writing. It's something I slightly can't speak. Something I slightly alluded to there was the rewatchability of Doctor Who. I think that some of the best episodes of Doctor Who are insanely rewatchable, and I think that's a big thing for Doctor Who for me. The episodes have to be rewatchable, and the episodes, and so leading up to the release of The Giggle, the third of these specials, I went back and rewatched The Star Beast and Wild Blue Yonder to see how rewatchable they were. They're very rewatchable. I'm so happy to say that about Doctor Who again, because I went back and tried to rewatch some of those Peter Capaldi and some of those later Matt Smith and some of those Jodie Whittaker episodes, and I just couldn't. I rewatched the first two 6th anniversary specials, and they're just so rewatchable. They're so rewatchable. Plus, I loved the big budget that these episodes clearly have. You know, Disney is now funding the show, and I think the show is available on Disney Plus now, which is great. And you can clearly tell that these episodes have this big budget, and the budget makes these specials feel special. And isn't that what we want from 6th anniversary specials? And another thing I haven't mentioned yet, how have I not mentioned this? It's Ncutti Gatwa as the 15th Doctor. Yeah, our first taster of him as a Doctor in the third and final 6th anniversary special. He looks like he's just going to own this role. And Ncutti Gatwa was my favourite part of Sex Education. Even the 4th series of that show, which was just so disappointing. You know, he was my favourite part of that show in its entirety. And I really think he's going to end up being one of my favourite Doctors. Alongside Matt Smith and alongside David Tennant. Because he just seems like he was just... As soon as he was a Doctor, he just sunk into that world and just owned it. And when you see David Tennant and Ncutti Gatwa on screen, both as the Doctor, David Tennant is a 14th Doctor, Ncutti Gatwa is a 15th Doctor, it was just magical. There was this energy and this chemistry, this instant chemistry between them two. And I liked the whole idea of a bi-generation. I've heard some people pushing back against that, going, Doctor Who shouldn't have a bi-generation. Doctor Who should just, should just regenerate into the next Doctor, how it's always been. Why not mix things up? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Doctor Who should be doing different things. And why not do something different on the 60th anniversary? And that's what Rusty Davies did. He took a big risk, and you know what? I think it paid off in the long run. I think, not in the long run, because we're not in the long run yet, but I think it paid off massively. I really think it paid off. And that bi-generation, it was a bit weird at first. I was like, whoa, we're going here. The two Doctors kind of look like Siamese twins. I'm like, what's going on here? And I wasn't sure how to think about it at first. Now when I look back at it, I'm thinking, Rusty Davies, you are a genius. I love the whole idea of bi-generation. Because why can't Doctor Who break canon? It's done it so many times. The Master keeps dying and coming back. We're going to see the Master again. The Daleks keep getting defeated and coming back. We're going to see the Daleks again. The Simon keep getting defeated and coming back. We're going to see Simon again. You get the point I'm making. Why can't Doctor Who do something different? Because it's Doctor Who. And that's really why I love the bi-generation idea. Because now both Doctors can exist. I don't know how that's going to work going forward. I don't know what it means for David Tennant's 14th Doctor, or whether we get a new series with him, or whether we just never see him again, or not to the big special episodes. I don't know what it means for him, but he's still out there, and I love that for David Tennant, because I watched an interview with him recently when he said his dream was to play the Doctor forever. And now he's got that dream. So that's something very sweet about that. And I have heard some pushback on these episodes, and I'm going to talk about this because I feel I have something to say on it. There's been some pushback on these episodes that they're too quote-unquote woke. I hate that word. It's one of the worst words ever, and it's been way too overused in the past couple of years. But still, there's been some pushback on these episodes that they're quote-unquote too woke, or that they are pushing to political messages or whatever. And a lot of this is from incels. Of course it is. Anyway, there has been some pushback on these episodes for being too woke. And mainly surrounding Yasmin Finney as Rose, as she is a transgender actor. And my thoughts on the whole, should they've had a transgender actor in this show or not, is this. Imagine how uplifting and how inspirational that having that character in the 60th anniversary specials of Doctor Who would be for young kids who are transgender. Imagine how inspirational that's going to be for them. To see representation on screen in a show that has now been around for 60 years. It would be mind-blowing. And I love that about what Lucy Davis did in these episodes. And people making out like Rose, played by Yasmin Finney, was the main focus of the first of the 60th anniversary specials. She was a big focus, sure, I'm not saying she wasn't, but she wasn't the main focus. Let's just clear it up. She wasn't the main focus. And people just getting annoyed over nothing. Because I thought it was wonderful to see that representation. And just, Doctor Who's a family show. Imagine that would be like for kids who are transgender, who are transitioning. That would just be... I mean, I don't know what that would be like. But at the same time, though, I can imagine it being uplifting and inspirational. And same with having, Ruth Madley, I think that's the actress name, who's in the wheelchair, who's in episode 1 and episode 3 of the 6th anniversary specials. People might go, oh, the show's being too PC and having so it's got a transgender actor in there now, an actor in a wheelchair, what else does it need? But really, imagine being a disabled kid, or imagine being disabled and watching these specials and seeing that representation on screen and thinking, yes, I can be as cool as Ruth Madley in these episodes, and I can go and work for UNIT and have guns in my wheelchair like she does, have special weapons in my wheelchair. I can be like her. Imagine what the representation, imagine how uplifting and inspirational it's going to be to see that representation in these 6th anniversary specials. So I don't care if these specials are too quote-unquote woke. I don't care. I'm all for the representation. I'm all for it going forward in Doctor Who. And I can't wait to see what Rusty Davies does in the future. And I'm so happy to say that about Doctor Who again, because I haven't felt like that in the longest time. I am looking forward to the Christmas special with Shooter Gatwa a hell of a lot. I will say, the little teaser we got for the Christmas special, come this Christmas, looks wild, and I don't know what the hell is going on in that, but it's only a little teaser, and I'm sure it's just going to be complete and utter magic, because these episodes were magical, and they restored the magic in Doctor Who for me. I can understand why some people might have problems with these episodes. I can understand that, but they were just wildly entertaining, and they moved at such a pace, and they brought back that energy in Doctor Who, which I've just missed for so long. At least it feels like so long. With Murray Gold scoring, with David Tennant back as Doctor, and he feels like he's never missed a beat. With Catherine Tate back as Donna Noble, with Shooter Gatwa being introduced in just such a phenomenal fashion, and with Neil Patrick Harris being absolutely mad and tuning up the scenery in the way that you can clearly tell he's having the best time in the world playing the Toymaker, with an insanely good villain there, and just with episodes that, although not perfect, I do wish I had more surprises, are so good. And definitely rewatchable as well. And so, all in all, I'm going to say that all 3 of the 60th anniversary specials for Doctor Who, you know what, I'm feeling generous. I'm going to say that they were 9 out of 10. I'm so happy I can say that. And you know what? The more I talk about these specials, the more I like them. The more I think about them, the more I like them. And that's why I'm actually going to say I love them. I didn't say that when I was talking initially about my thoughts on these specials earlier on this podcast, but I'm saying that now because it's just, there's something about these specials which they get under your skin, and in the best way possible. They really, really do. I mean, probably say that the Star Beast is the weakest of all three specials, but I still think that's a wildly entertaining special, and I'd definitely give it probably around an 8 out of 10. I would give Wild Blue Yonder, the second of the specials, a 9 out of 10, because I think it's the best written of all three specials, and I think it's very clever, and I think it messes with your head. It's spooky, it's a bit weird, it's strange, and in the way many of the best Doctor Who episodes are, like Midnight. That episode reminded me a lot of one of Russell Davies' best written previous Doctor Who episodes, which was Midnight from David Tennant's era of Doctor Who. If you haven't checked out Midnight, even if you're not a fan of Doctor Who, that's just one of the best written episodes of TV, period. And I think this follows very much in the footsteps of that. It feels very much, I think, Wild Blue Yonder feels very much like a spiritual success to that. I think it's a third special, which is The Giggle, which is a proper, and I mean a proper 60th anniversary special, and just works, it's so insanely entertaining, that one. And I'd give the third special a 9 out of 10 as well. And I really also think that all three specials work very well and fit very nicely with one another. You know, there's a narrative thread going on with all three specials, and they always keep touching on things that have happened to the Doctor. Each special, subtly at times, touches on things that have happened, touches on things that have happened to the Doctor since his time with Donna Noble in the TARDIS and in the TARDIS. And I think the way that it's done, I mean, it's just great, isn't it? It's just great to be able to talk positively, I can't even speak anymore, positively about Doctor Who again. It's just great. And man alive, it's been going on for 50 minutes, so I'm going to round things off now by saying this. These episodes are wildly entertaining. It's so great to have Murray Gold back doing the musical score. David Tennant and Catherine Tate haven't missed a beat. Great seeing Donna Noble's family back. Love the representation. Would have liked to see more surprises. There are problems, there are plot holes in these episodes, and they're not some of my favourite episodes of Doctor Who, or they might be in the next couple of years, give it time, when I rewatch them more. But they are wildly entertaining. They have this energy that I've missed from Doctor Who, and they restored my faith in Doctor Who. They got me excited about Doctor Who again, and they restored the magic of Doctor Who, and I just love them. I love these episodes, and I love how they introduce Ncutti Gatwa as 15th Doctor, and I can't wait to see where his series goes. And I can't wait to see what the future Doctor Who is. Whether we get this so-called Paul McGann 8th Doctor series, because there's been some reports to that, so maybe we get that, maybe we don't. Maybe we get a unit series, maybe we get this series, apparently it's around the Sea Devils, I don't know, I'll have to wait and see. But one thing's for certain, I'm very, very excited for the future of Doctor Who. And I'm incredibly happy to say that. And so, all in all, as I've already said, I'm going to say that all three 60th anniversary specials, overall, are a 9 out of 10 from me. Anyway, guys, that is it for today's podcast. Man alive, it's been a long one, so I've been rambling for too long, but I have had a lot to say about all these specials. I've been gearing up my notes for the past couple of weeks, wanting to talk about these specials for what feels like quite a bit of time now because of how much I've been enjoying them. So, thank you if you have stuck with me throughout this podcast, and also, let me know your thoughts on these specials in the comment section below. You know, maybe you didn't feel as strongly about these 6th anniversary specials as I did. Maybe you preferred the 50th anniversary specials. And if that's the case, please let me know why in the comment section below. Or let me know what was your favourite of the 6th anniversary specials of Doctor Who. Whatever your thoughts are on the 60th anniversary specials of Doctor Who, please let me know in the comment section below. And as always, thank you for watching or listening to this podcast. And if you haven't yet, please click down below and like and subscribe on this podcast. And look forward to many more podcasts coming very, very soon on this channel. And as I already said, thank you all for watching or listening to this podcast. And I suppose this is it. So I will see you guys again soon. But bye for now. Bye.